what he said about Edgar Cayce, what he tapped into, which I think is very interesting, which is that Edgar Cayce, as excellent of a channel as he was getting some negative information back then.
Right.
Things about California falling into the sea and so on that didn't happen. Now, whether it does in the future, I don't know. But you know what I'm saying? In other words, we're past the time when he was predicting certain things that didn't happen. And therefore, it's clear that Edgar Cayce himself was not always getting the best information. And so all channeled information has to be held in that regard. But with that caveat, I wish you guys would then reveal more specifically what it is they have told you. And then you can also, at the same time, talk about how you view that personally.
Right. Okay. Well, first of all, I think that Edgar Cayce was a great psychic or seer, and I think the only disconnect was the time issue. I think that the things that he saw, he predicted a date or a time, and there's too many variables to predict a date or a time, such as prayer. When we as sentient beings come together in a church, it's not the church that really makes the difference. It's the thought that becomes a reality. So when you have more people thinking of the same thing at the same time, it manifests. At least that's my belief. So that being said, the things that the channels had said, and like I said, this isn't set in stone. There's too many variables to, pinpoint. But there's going to be something coming out of the water beyond, I think in between Japan and California, and I think it's already begun to come out of the water. And I don't know what this is. I know that they've said that California, or parts of it, will probably be underwater. And that there's going to be an earthquake that's going to start in California, will be felt the whole way to New York. That's how big of a earthquake this is going to be. And that the United States will be cut in half almost, or somewhere like that, where there'll be a body of water in between. So I don't know how big of a body of water, if it's, I can't be that specific, but that's what they're saying. And again, the communications and the financial collapse. And all these things are supposed to happen within the next several years, maybe even 2 years. But there's other influences that, other than just the Earth, that you have to look at. And one of which is the theory of the Nibiru planet that's supposed to be coming in, which, just by virtue of that particular mass of a planet, the energies that are put off from it, if you will, affect whether it be gravity or in some of the other energies that we don't even understand. So I think that that's going to affect our sun and some of the other planetary features, including the planetary alignment that's happening right now. I just think that there's a lot of variables and influences that are going to create this change that is inevitable. And there's no ET negative force that's out there that's going to prevent it. It is inevitable. It's going to happen. And depending how you perceive it and how bad you resist it is how painful, I guess, if you will, it's going to be. That's how I look at it. And personally, I don't see it. You asked me how it affected me personally. If you asked me this question 2 years ago, I'd probably be in fear of it and be like, oh my gosh, my poor family and the earth. And, I like things the way they are. But if you take a look at all the negative things that are out there in the earth right now with, insurance companies and the pharmaceutical companies and all this other stuff that's really disease process, and we actually have cures for things that is not being made available to the public, and plus poverty. I could go on and on. I really think that it's a good idea to have a change, and so that we are a more loving species, if you will. That's my take on it.
Okay, and what about you, Terry? Can you talk about the same thing? In other words, the general information you're getting, how it coincides, and also if you've gotten any information that you completely discount and why you might discount it.
Wow. I go along with Joe. Most of the things that Joe has spoken of is mainly came through the channels. of course, I don't always remember what comes through the channels. And, but I, when they're spoken to me, they all make sense, or they'll come out later on in some type of understanding or an awareness. And I do believe in everything that is coming through. At first, I didn't want to. And,
hello?
Can you hear me?
Well, just then, no, we couldn't hear you.
Oh, okay. I do believe that of everything that is coming through the channels. But sometimes I don't want to believe them. and I'm not fearful, by a long shot, but at the same time, I always want the best for humanity. So what Joe has said has come through the channels, many times. And they come through my dream states, they come through the trance states and things like that. I do know that there's going to be some major changes, and I truly believe that they are changes that are needed. I do see something wonderful coming out of all of this. It's almost how I feel and see is that even though we have to go through this, and the time frame thing, it could be up to now to the next 20, 30 years. But I know it's coming because I can see it through the reincarnation of these kids that are coming through. And so I would definitely, say that, something wonderful is coming out of all of what people may perceive as disasters.
Okay,
I'm not sure if I answered that correctly for you.
Yeah, absolutely. We are talking to a worldwide audience here, even whether they're listening live or they're going to tune in later to Project Camelot and click on this radio show when it's in the archives. So let's address the rest of the world. What, if anything, are you guys getting about other countries, about what's going on in other countries, be they earth changes or political or whatever? Are you seeing information about other countries?
It's all the same. It's all part of the transition. It's all about fear. A lot of it has to do, a lot of the things that are going on, in the earth has to do with ourselves as cells to the earth. You know, if we're going to look at everything in a fear-based world, you know, and look at everything as that's why we say we don't want to get into doom and gloom, okay, is because if you're fearful all the time about everything around you, okay, you are giving that energy up into the universe, and it's only going to come back at you in that same way. But now we are coming into a new generation, a new reincarnated, like I said, with these kids that are about 20 years old nowadays, these kids are coming in from the 60s, basically, that were all about love, you know? And so we need to bring up more of the unconditional love. Look at prejudice, or eliminate prejudice, eliminate judgment and things like that. And you're slowly starting to see that to happen in our world now too, but it's not fast enough.
Okay. But actually, I mean, I appreciate all that, and I think that that's very valuable to say that and to believe that. But what I wanted to address, you know, is specifically what, if anything, because you got some very specific incidents within the U.S., and I appreciate that that's where you live, and so perhaps that's more of your focus. But because our listening, because the listeners come from other parts of the world, can we address any incidents, any specifics, regardless of the fact that it might appear to be fear-based?
Okay. Well, because I'm experiential, I can only speak experiential. And so that's why it's tough for me to answer these sometimes. All right. I was in other countries in these trance-like states, and I've seen myself in barracks, like underground barracks. I don't have a lot about being in other countries. I see that